I watched it happen. And then you hear it. The tone, the gunfire, everything through comms. That's when we put the guns on the line and we're just waiting. Finally, we get the calls in and we start delivering fires within 14 meters of friendlies to take out the enemy on this ridge because they were getting hammered and they had lost an individual on their team. They were already calling a gunship to backfill us because then we were going to run out of fuel. And we got these guys. They were able to get out. And that mission, I still know one of the guys from it. He was shot, I believe, 6 times. They were getting fragged by us because it was so close, but they didn't care because it saved their life. It's one of those things that you have to risk in order to help get them home and return the fallen with honor.
I'm Steve Murphy, DEA Special Agent retired and now host of the Game of Crimes podcast. If you've seen the Netflix series Narcos, then you know my story. I now bring you stories of heroism and bravery from our law enforcement and military heroes, and occasionally from the criminals that they faced. Welcome to Game of Crimes. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Game of Crimes with Murph in the Morning. Thank you so much for coming back. Your support means the world to me. I couldn't do any of this without you. So thank you. If you haven't heard about our Patreon channel, go over to patreon.com/Game of Crimes, where you'll hear a lot of serious stuff and you'll hear a lot of silly stuff. But we have a lot of fun over there. So come over and try that out. You can actually join for free and you get to hear the first 5 minutes of everything I do on Patreon for free. And if you've been there for a while, you got to join us because there's some good stuff on there. That's what I meant to say, right? So our guest this week is a very special person, and I think you'll agree with me once we get into her interview here. She's an 8-year U.S. Air Force veteran. Thank you for your service. Before we get into this, she is now a family nurse practitioner, and I'm not real sure what that is, but we're going to find out. And she has a very unique background as far as her family goes. And we're going to get into that shortly. But welcome to the show, Mary Howe.
Steve, thanks for having me.
And the reason I gave her whole name there is because she asked me not to, and I'm a jerk. So, no, we're going to have some fun today. We've had some good laughs here before we got started. The regular listeners, I usually start with a small town police blotter, but we're going to forgo that again this week. Just doesn't seem to fit into the conversation, but we're still going to have some fun. And how I met Mary here was through a former guest. If you watched episode 224 back in December of last year, we had Anthony Dyer on here. Anthony grew up in rural, North Carolina, I believe it was, and joined the Air Force, became an aerial gunner on an AC-130 Spectrum gunship, which I think is just the coolest thing in the world, especially when I got to see some of his pictures and hear some of his stories, and I actually read his book. I would love to do stuff like that. You just ruined somebody's day. Well, it just turns out that Anthony happened to work with Mary in the Air Force as an aerial gunner also. And he contacted me and he's like, man, he said, you told me if there's ever anybody I thought would be a good guest on here to let you know. And so he introduced me to Mary. So this is going to be as good as Anthony's was, although she's a little bit better looking than Anthony. But Anthony, no offense there, brother. Love you to death, man.
Tony's the best, man. He was the NCO on the deployment he talked about on your show, where he was like the in the leadership position. That's how we connected. So he was Spectres, I was Spooky. So we had our own little internal rivalry, but we got along great. Phenomenal human being. So shout out to Anthony, or Tony, as I call him.
Very good. Well, but I got to ask you a question now. What's the difference between Spooky and what'd you say the other one was?
Spectre.
So what's the difference?
So Spooky is the AC-130U gunship. That's this one right here. Also, if I can give a quick shout out to Tyler Gately, he painted that. He's an Army veteran and he does aviation art. And so I have the print and then I have the actual painting that he did of the Spooky gunship.
Wow.
Phenomenal. And so, man, it captures all the memories. And so basically it just kind of, and I talk with my hands a lot, Steve, so
no
for all the listeners watching, but there's different mods to each aircraft. So all of them are AC-130 gunships. And then the U model is a variant within that. So basically, like, we have different technologies, weapon systems. The U model had the 105, the 40 millimeter, and the 25. And so at the time, the Whiskeys had a different layout. And I apologize. I am so honed in to the U model. So I don't want to embarrass myself and start talking about capabilities that they all had, because I can't remember. It was a while ago.
That's okay. But which is better?
No.
That's one thing I cannot ask, right?
I can't. I mean, I'm ride or die U model, but man, all gunship community, my heart's there for all of them.
Studs. And I said it already, but thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Steve.
You come from a family of service. I don't say that lightly, everybody. These people volunteer. We don't have the draft anymore. They volunteer to risk their lives to protect you and me. So they're all heroes. They won't tell you they're heroes, but that's part of what makes a hero, right? Mm-hmm. So if you would, Mary, let's just get into your family background a little bit. Where did you grow up? What were your family dynamics? In high school, did you play sports, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So I guess to start off, my family moved to East Texas when I was 3, and that's kind of like became home base for all of us. Right. So my mom growing up, she was a military brat, and then my dad was in the Army. He was a Delta Force operator and was on ground during Black Hawk Down. He was a team leader during that. And so that event, we can talk a little bit about it too. And that shaped a lot of my upbringing. And then on my mom's side, my grandfather is Charlie Beckwith, the founder of Delta Force.
Wow.
So an interesting meetup when my parents met.
I'll bet.
So yeah, my dad I don't think he believed my mom when they first met. Was kind of wide-eyed for a minute. But so anyway, they moved to East Texas again when I was 3. And my dad finished out his military career at the college there, Stephen F. Austin University. And then he started his business where he trains law enforcement officers, church security, government agencies, civilians. And he has a 300-acre shooting range and his business is Combat Shooting and Tactics. And he's been doing that since, I think, 1999. So I grew up on a shooting range. Helped, if I can tell a little story,
sure.
If that's okay. So when he bought the property, is what my family refers to it as, I would go out there in the summer and we helped build it. I learned real quick what hard work was, working outside in the Texas heat when I was young. And we would go out and he would bush hog and get everything ready and setting up the berms for a gun range. And he had this old F-150 where I would sit in the back of this pickup, and he had these tires, right? He chained all these tires together in like a big triangle, chained it to the back of the truck, stuck me in the back with a hand grass feeder with the grass seed, and would just hook it on these berms while I'm like popping out to lay grass seed for the shooting range. So yeah, we laugh about that to this day.
How old were you then?
At least 9 or 10.
Hey, teach those Texas girls early, right?
Oh yeah, I learned. It was so hot whenever he would go out and do stuff where I couldn't go. It was too much, like forest and woods and everything. I would just put the bed of the pickup truck down for shade and just sit under there and just try to survive.
Roast. You just sit there and roast.
Yeah. So it was good. And then, yes, my parents are still there to this day. My mom is super involved in the community. Both my parents really instilled in me the sense of patriotism, service for your country. Our country is so important. And both of my parents taught me that in their own ways through what my dad did with how he serves this country to this day with the work he does to train police officers, which are the most important thing that we have. Right. And so I saw that. And the hard work that he put in, the heart, that was the other thing I really saw my parents deliver, was the heart that they had for this country. And so that was the norm. And I thought everyone was raised that way. And so come to find out, it was a little bit different. I had a very strict upbringing. I definitely had a rebellious stage and a little bit of a chaos stage when I was younger. And then, I played sports. I did all the things. Like I dabbled in everything, did a little bit of volleyball, basketball, I swam. That was the big one that I did in high school. And after that, I did a little bit of drill team. So in the South, it's like a dance team for people who are familiar. Yeah.
Yep. I don't think you mentioned your father's name.
Paul Howe. Oh my gosh.
That's, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know who that is, if you heard about the Battle of Mogadishu, you saw the movie Black Hawk Down, you read the book Black Hawk Down, who, by the way, the author of that, Mark Bowden, was the same author that wrote Killing Pablo, that there might be somebody on this screen that you know that's mentioned in that book. Paul helped Bowden write the book with information, and then he also consulted on the TV show, right?
For the movie?
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to ask him. I know for the book he did. Yeah.
That's the kind of studs we're talking about here. And it's one thing that you're not aware of, Mary, is when we were hunting for Pablo Escobar down there, from the time he escaped until the time he was killed, they sent SEAL Team 6 and they sent Delta down with us for 18 months. And I've looked at your dad's picture. I don't recognize the picture, but a lot of the guys, they would rotate in with us for 60 days and then they'd rotate over to Mogadishu. Mm-hmm. This was back when Jerry Boykin got his first star as a general. He was the head of Delta back at that time. Mm-hmm. But also Mary's grandfather, she mentioned, Charlie Beckwith, is the creator. The
founder
is of the Delta Force operators. I mean, he was an Army Ranger. He was a Green Beret.
Stud.
He was stationed over with the British SAS for a while. I did some reading up on your family. That's kind of creepy, isn't it?
My grandfather, I've been doing the audiobook of his book. I read it years ago and I'm listening to it again, and he died a year after I was born. So I never really got that relationship with him. And so I just lived through the stories, and I love the stories my mom tells me of him, like the family side of it. Like I would have just loved, me and him would have gotten along so well. But looking at how he created the unit it gives me hope, because he went to the SAS, he did his tour with them. He came back and was like, guys, I got this great idea. We need to be doing what they're doing. And it took years to actually get through for someone to say, okay, and then formulate the unit. So like that gives me hope in my life to go, okay, keep going. And then I always try to ground myself, because we can get so lost in it nowadays with trying and mindset. And I just remember, like, have the guts to try.
Right.
You have to.
That's words of inspiration right there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This will get better and better. I wasn't expecting that, Mary. I like it. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
So I have a brother. He's 10 years older than me. He lives in Houston now, and he did serve. He joined the Army back in early 2000s. So he did a tour for a year in Iraq. Wow. Service runs deep in my family. Like my mom's in Daughters of the American Revolution, and she has traced our line back generation after generation. Like service is just something that's in our DNA. Wow. Did you have any choice in the matter about going into the service? I think, of course I did. When I was younger, with Black Hawk Down and everything, I didn't know. It happened the year I was born. And so when I was younger and people would start to ask me, oh, who's your dad? And like my dad would always say, just tell him I'm a cook. So if he listens to this, I would just be like, I don't know. He's a cook. And I didn't know, when you're a young kid. And it wasn't until I was older that I started to really connect the dots and say, okay, because again, these individuals, they're family. Like the men and women in these families, like they're people we're still connected with to this day. And so there's that other layer to it. So connecting the significance of this event didn't really happen until like high school, because then I read the book. Once I kind of had that emotional maturity and the cognition to go, okay, let me see what this is about. And so I read the book in high school, and that's when I really was like looking out and going, there's so much more to this life, and I need to do something. I'm capable. Like put me in the fight. And so that really is what drove me to initially start to look at ROTC programs. I looked at too with my mom, and I remember coming back and trying to fill out the essays. Like, why do you want to go here? And I was like, I don't. My mom wants me to go here. So I was like, okay, college is not the path for me right now. And so my parents were like, I was like, I'm going to enlist. And that's when my parents were like, join the Air Force.
Well, that brings up another question. Everybody in your family's Army, was there any consternation about you going Air Force?
No, they were like, go. They were like, don't go to Mary. That whoa. They knew who I was. And they were like, you're going to get such an awesome life in the Air Force. And there's the aviation component. Like, they just saw that I was a little bit different. I would have made it in the Army, but like in the Air Force, that's where I would have thrived. And I love all the branches. Okay.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, any time you work with those guys, and they get together. Well, it's like us in fire. It's like police and firemen. There's always that button heads.
Yeah.
Or police and the FBI, because everybody picks on the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all in, and the good thing is it's all in fun. It's not meant to be derogatory. It's just breaking stones. It's how you deal with stress.
Absolutely. Good
stuff. You said that you grew up in a strict household. My dad was a Southern Baptist minister. I grew up in a strict household also. But can you expound on that just a little bit? I mean, I know that he had Jethro working in the field, and that's just being part of the family, right?
Mm-hmm. Man, I've thought about this a lot, and it's kind of hard to put into words because it's just an air, like it's a feeling when I think about it. And excellence was the standard. That was the bare minimum. Grades, how you perform, how you treat people, all of that was the baseline. You did not fall below. And so I think that taught me how to, I ended up putting a lot of pressure on myself. And then I combusted when I was younger, and I definitely started going down like the wrong path. And so like the military, like God bless, saved my life. I needed that structure because I didn't have the internal mechanisms yet when I was younger. You know, mental health wasn't something that we talked about.
Right.
During my youth. And so I think there was this battle of the mind that nobody saw, and I didn't even understand like what anxiety was, because that was like a big thing that I had when I was younger. I had panic attacks when I was in middle school. And so I think that, along with like creating this pressure that I need to perform, and I did this, and then I just didn't have that bandwidth yet. And as I've, gotten older and looked back, I can go, oh, okay, now I see. And like, but that gives me my power back, and it's not something that controls me.
I look back, my sister and I, she had it harder than I did. She was 8 years older than me. And we talked about it. She passed away a couple of years ago, unfortunately, but
I'm sorry.
We talked about it. And yes, it was, under today's standards, it was unbelievable. I mean, nobody would believe what we went through, but for us, it was the norm. And we knew what was expected of us, and we knew the consequences if we didn't live up to those expectations. Would you say that was true in your situation?
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like, too, with my parents, how they were raised, and then I looked at like the people, and this could just be my young perception at the time. It's like my household was more in that 70s mindset of how we're going to do things. And then there was that transition of like, okay, the mental health and everything and things around us were changing, but our households kept that.
Wow. I honestly don't have a problem with it.
No. Looking back, I'm like, yes, we need a little bit more of this.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes.
I thought it was terrible because I didn't go to my first movie until I was maybe 15 years old. And all your buddies are going to the movies and seeing everything's out there. And you thought, this is child abuse. It wasn't. It's teaching you responsibility.
Yes.
I looked at my notes here, and one thing I got to give a shout out to your granddad, Charlie Beckwith, because he's a graduate of the University of Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Played football there. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. That's where my mom went to college.
Oh, really?
Yep. She's a diehard Georgia Bulldog.
Oh, see, I love her already. Good lady. Got to be a good lady. And I also read with your granddad, when he came out of college, the Green Bay Packers wanted to pick him up.
Yep. He was going to go play professional.
Wow. And he made the choice to go to the military.
Serve the country.
And thank God he did.
Amen.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. I just get goosebumps talking about this stuff. These are real life heroes.
And those little choices, that one little choice completely changed the trajectory of what he did, and then the trajectory of what special operations is to this day. That one choice.
Yep. And you see, I mean, all these major missions that are going down, these life or death situations that just sound impossible that anything successful could ever come out of it, is by our special operators. Oh, God bless him for having the foresight to create this idea, this concept, and then to continue to pursue it after he's being told no, 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 over and over again.
There's a beautiful underlying message in that.
Wow. And that message is, ladies and gentlemen, don't ever give up.
Don't.
You might have heard that a few times before on here. Oh, let's see. Now, so you come out of high school. How long from the time you came out of high school till you joined the Air Force?
It was about 3 weeks because I did the military entrance program where you are ready to enlist. So I did that. And then my basic military training date was 3 weeks into summer. And that kickstarted 8 years of a journey.
Where did you go to basic training at?
San Antonio.
So still hot.
Still hot, but I'm from Texas. So I was like, this is the same.
Yeah.
Those long days on the range prepared me for this.
I bet those folks from up north are dying out there, weren't they?
Oh yeah.
Well, and I mean, it's not anything to laugh about, but it's kind of funny. But you were ready to go. You were rocking and rolling. You knew what your future path was going to be there. So you joined, I think you told me, in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
You go in. Did you at that time have any say-so in what your MOS was going to be?
I already knew. So because I did the MEPS, they kind of prep you you can do a dream sheet of the jobs that you want. And I had someone who was like, Mary, whatever you do, put flying jobs on every single billet. That way you can just keep, because he's like, flying's the best thing that you can do in the Air Force as an enlisted aviator. So I was like, okay. So I did. I put gunner first, and I can't remember the rest of them. Everything was flying. And so I got gunner. And I don't know how they billeted it out, with groups that go through training at the same time. And I think that drives like when you're going to go to basic training and everything. So that was the date I got because of that job.
When you were in the basic training, they put you through firearms training, right?
Yes.
What did they think about your shooting skills?
Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain. I got an award for it.
Like the Possible Club or something like that?
Where you get it on your ribbon rack. I'm having a brain meltdown, Steve.
It's a marksmanship.
Marksmanship. Yeah, I got marksmanship.
Wow. Were you the best in your class?
For shooting?
Uh-huh.
I can't remember. I think a couple other girls got it. Ladies, I should say.
So you went through with only the ladies, and the guys weren't mixed in with you guys?
We were in the same building. This was before the Air Force. I think they have a big setup now, but this was the old dorms. So we had our flight, and then we had a brother flight next door. And then in basic training, I was the dorm chief for all of the 50 women. So that was an adventure. And so, yeah.
A dorm chief. So did you volunteer for that, or were you selected?
I was voluntold. Yes.
Do you think it had anything to do with your family lineage?
No, they didn't know. That's something I definitely kept close hold for a while. And then it did eventually come out later on when I was in gunner training. But in basic training, I didn't say a peep about that. I think they tried different women in that role. And then I guess the MTI military training instructor really thought I did a good job, and I kept it.
Well, I think it's called leadership there right off the bat.
Yeah.
Sounds like you listen to mom and dad.
Sometimes. I've learned I need to listen to them a lot more.
Oh, didn't we all? I tell you.
Yep.
When it's my turn to go to heaven, I got a lot of apologizing to do when I get there. Man, so you come out of basic. Now you have to go through additional training, like a couple of years worth of training to be an aerial gunner. Is that right?
Yes. And so, man, I was listening to Tony because he did such a good job on his podcast explaining it, because I was like, oh, this gives me a little bit more, because I forget. It all starts to blur together. So yes, I stayed in San Antonio after basic training, and then did the basic air crew course, which is like 2 weeks. Then you do basic aerial gunner course. And I think these are just really to see, hey, can you learn at a fire hose pace? And if you can, okay, we're going to send you. After that, I went to steer school up in Spokane, Washington for 3 weeks, and then water survival in Pensacola. And man, hearing Tony talk about the water. I still live by Hurlburt Field, and I have been scared of the ocean. And so when I had to drop from that parasail where they're teaching you, hey, if you're going to have to ditch your aircraft and come down, I'll never forget when they're like, okay, pull it. And so I'm going down into the water. Like my heart was just pounding. Like, and I'm a strong swimmer, but the ocean, it just gets me every time.
Yeah. Is it the creatures? The critters in the ocean? Is that
it's the critters in the ocean. And I remember just sitting there with my little one-man raft, just like breathing and just looking at the sky like, okay, one breath at a time. It'll be over soon. They'll come get us. And they do. So
the bottom line is you did it. That's the bottom line there.
Yeah, I checked that big old box I needed. And then after that, went to Hurlburt Field. So that's when they start you on your aircraft specific training. So if you're at Cannon, I believe they go there at the time when I was going through. And that is basically, they do didactic, which is a huge portion of it. Once you complete that, you do your ground training. So you pretend like you're flying. And this can include simulations as well. They have whole setups for this. And you basically run through from a pre-flight to the end of the flight. Can you do every single job that is required? Once they say, okay, you can do that on the ground, now we'll put you in the air, and you have X amount of ground trainings and X amount of flight trainings. And then at the end of that, once you get checked off, everything is literally a checklist item. You are evaluated. So you also have to do writtens. You have 2 written exams that you have to do. And then you go up for your, what's called a check ride. And so they put you with an evaluator, and they're going to ask you every single question under the sun. You're going to run through everything. No one's going to help you, and they're just going to watch. And so you just need to make sure you're shit hot, excuse my language, and you get through, because you can either do it or you can't for a lot of this stuff.
There's no pressure with somebody looking over your shoulder, is there?
Oh, yeah. Well, my check ride, oh gosh, this is another story. So my check ride, I had an instructor, Sergeant Wolf. Man, he was a tough one. Looking back, so grateful. Brilliant human being, and he would put you through the ringer for good reason. And I'll never forget. I'm so grateful to be able to learn from him. But on my check ride, we go up and we're going to do the live fire first. So takeoff, there's ranges where we can actually practice like live shooting. I'm doing everything. I shoot all of the weapon systems, put them online. He sees what I think is enough, and he's like, all right, Mary, go sit in the right scanner window, which is this place where we have gunners. When we're downrange, we have someone that sits in that. It's literally a window to look for surface-to-air threats at the aircraft if we need to do things to maneuver. She's like, go sit up there. And I was like, okay. And I think he was doing that because he saw enough where he's like, okay, she's got it. We're not going to, people try to help you. They're good guys. And as soon as I went up there, I hear this boom, this explosion, and then the hydraulic system exploded under the 105. I mean, like we had a major aircraft emergency on my check ride where I just hear ceasefire. They're safe in the guns. We had 2 phenomenal evaluators back there at the time. There was another student. And then, I mean, within 5 to 10 minutes, we were off that range and on the ground. Great air. Like that's how quick we have to react when things happen on board, because you need hydraulics to fly. And I don't know how much we lost, but the gun deck was covered when we landed. So after that, once everything was settled, safe, we got home. My evaluator took me to like a blacked out aircraft on the ramp, no power. And I was running through malfunction work with a flashlight just to finish and make sure I could do everything. And so, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's something you want to know is how to save the aircraft when an emergency happens.
Yes. And that's a huge part of our training. I mean, that's one thing, looking back, the training culture of the military is beyond exceptional. I have yet to see that replicated in the civilian setting. They hone everything into you so you can do it when things get chaotic. You rebound into it, and you have to know it's life or death in some of these situations. And man, that's something to take away. The training culture is phenomenal.
That's really encouraging to hear. You hear the interagency competition there, and everybody kind of, I don't know, poo-poos the Air Force a little bit that you guys have it easier than everybody else. It doesn't sound like that to me.
I don't know anything easier about being an AC-130U gunner. I don't.
Did you have to do a lot of weightlifting to bulk up?
I did. So the 105s are about 45 pounds each. And so you have to be able to upload and then shoot, and then offload. So we have simulation rounds that literally weigh about, I think those ones are about 36 pounds. And if anyone's watching this, there's great YouTube videos that show how you load the aircraft. We can hold up to 100 rounds, and you have to be able to do it point blank. And so, yeah, I went to the gym a lot, and I was able to hustle and bustle.
Good for you. The Hurlburt Field, I've never heard, other than through Anthony, I hadn't heard a lot about that field. Is that just straight for the C-130 training?
That's Air Force Special Operations Command.
Okay.
So that's where all the special operations, aircraft, PJ, CCT, there's a lot of different units. Yeah.
So you go in 2011, and by the time you finish your training and you're ready to go kick butt, take names, how long was that time period to get to that point?
2013.
So a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And where's your first deployment? Or first of all, where were you stationed after training?
Hurlburt Field.
Oh, you stay there?
Yes. So when I was there, the U model was only at Hurlburt Field. And so a lot of guys, if you were there, that's where you hung out. Now I think it's a little bit different and they move people around. But yeah, Hurlburt was where you were going to stay. And then after that, I was at the mission unit for, I can't remember how long, at least a couple months. And then did my first deployment to Afghanistan, Bagram. And then I did 3 more after that.
How long's the deployment?
It depends. They had 60 days, and then they went to 120s, then they went to 90s, and then they stuck to 120s for, I think, towards the end when I was in. But I did like the 90, and then I did a 60, a 120, and I'm saying this all out of order, and then I think another 90.
I've actually been to Bagram Air Base there, and the food was pretty good, I got to say.
Oh, yeah. It's good.
And it was pretty cool riding down, not on the flight line, but adjacent to it, where you could see the little birds over there, the blackbirds that were parked over there, all the special operations stuff. And then got to visit some other places in Afghanistan. I was only there for a couple of weeks, just a quick TDY. But after retirement, I've been offered positions to go over there and be mentor to one of the positions was mentor to the chief of Afghani intelligence. My response was, when I left there, I didn't forget anything, and I have no need to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand.
I was telling somebody the other day, you probably saw this firsthand as well, riding down the road on the backside of the commercial airport in Kabul. The roads are all torn up, huge potholes, and it was because the locals were tearing up the asphalt out of the road and burning that for heat. It's unbelievable the things you see and what people tell you about it. It makes you appreciate living here in the good old United States of America, doesn't it?
100%.
Love it.
We have it so good.
So you're on your first deployment in Bagram. Are you the only female on the plane?
On my crew, yes. For that one, I was.
Did you ever feel like you had to prove yourself to the men that were there?
That's a good question. I think in the beginning, but I think that's natural for any young airman, private, trying to prove themselves. There's that culture where you're surrounded with all these men. Like there was one guy in my unit that deployed 27 times.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. And that was when I got out. So who knows how many more he's done since then. And it's like, you're looking at these giants and you're like, okay, I just want to make sure I can uphold the standard to be a part of the team. And that's more so what I felt. I always felt like, then I got like 12 big brothers and that was awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think you answered that correct. Well, I agree with the way you answered that. And the fact that anytime a newbie comes along, everybody wants to see, can they live up to muster?
Yep.
So, I mean, you certainly didn't get any breaks, did you?
I don't think, I hope not. I hope not.
I think if you had, they wouldn't have sent you back for number 2, number 3, and number 4 deployments.
Right. Yeah. You have to at least hit the standard for sure.
Give us an idea, if you would, about what's a typical mission when you fly up on a AC-130U gunship.
So there's different mission sets, right? And this can go down a whole tangent, but basically the overall encompassing mission of the gunship is close air support. So when guys are on ground, we are there to provide cover as needed. This can look like different things. So sometimes we can provide suppressive fires to suppress the enemy. We can actually engage targets as needed. But what we do is we go over, we would get different operations, and these can be ground forces just moving. They can be planned operations. They can be troops in contact, which is a TIC, where, hey, we're alert launching you to this mission right now. So those are kind of like the basic ones, if you will, for the types of mission sets. And then I've had flights that last 4 hours. I've had flights that last 12 hours. It really depends on what's going on. And then when we went into Iraq, that's a whole different hunter-killer mission mindset, tactics, how we're operating. But the core of it is it's the guys on the ground.
Right.
That's the core. The great thing about the gunship is we are able to stay on station. You know, we can build situational awareness because we can just stay in orbit and watch everything going on. We can see, is there anything going on with the enemy? Where are the ground guys? What's going on in the buildings? And we can build this target picture unlike any other. So if stuff does happen, we're ready. You know, there are lots of times when you're in the airplane and there's so many comms. So basically like the headset we have on right now, you've got multiple channels and you're listening and you can hear when something's about to just change. Man, I'll never forget. There was this one operation we were on and this JTAC was on and I can't remember what was going on. They were in a firefight and he's like, hold on guys, I got to throw this grenade and just comes off comms, throws the grenade. And he's like, all right, what were you saying? And I was like, oh. It's one of those moments where I'm like, where am I? But it's just, man, that battle mindset, it's something else. Yeah.
2, you can't become overly excited because then people can't understand you when you're talking on the radio, right?
No, you have to learn how to operate under pressure. That's something that you learn through training. They want to stress you out. That's the point, because when you're downrange and you are stressed out, all of those things start coming into play because your cortisol is going to spike, your adrenaline's going to spike. And again, you can hear it when things aren't going well, you can hear it in the voice of whoever you're talking to on the ground. And then that on top of hearing the gunfire in the background and us watching and going, okay, we're ready. Let's go, making sure we're precise as well. That's another thing. We are very precise with what we do in our fires and making sure we can operate to get those guys home. It's humans at the end of the day. It's people.
Right. That's the precision. I mean, it'll be just as easy to take out the good guys as it would be the bad guys if you don't pay attention.
Yes, there's so many layers and levels to situational awareness that comes in, and it's 13 people and we're all working towards this one goal to make sure everything is right so we can do that.
13 people on one AC-130. So 2 pilots. What's everybody doing on there? 13's a lot.
They've got the pilots, you got a flight engineer, so there's 4 gunners. When I first came on, I was an aerial gunner, and then I did transition to the special mission aviator where they put the loadmaster role in. So then it became 5 enlisted crew members in the back. You've got sensor operators, you've got fire control, navigator, electronic warfare, all of that all together.
Holy
working
cow.
as one.
And you said when you can see what's happening, do you have monitors in front of you that cameras are able to zoom in and you can see movement on the ground?
So I don't, but we had what's called the BMC Battle Management Center. So I would go, gunners would go in there and just watch because that's where all the screens are. So we can watch and see what's going on. And then once it is time, if we're going to be shooting, then we're in the back. We don't have any visual screen of what's going on the ground at that point. It's all about where's the weapon system pointing and loading and everything like that.
When you guys are ready to fire, are all 4 gunners together, or do you swap off so you don't become fatigued?
You downrange you're assigned. So we basically do a rotation. So one person is right scanner. So earlier when I talked about there's this window, they sit on the right side and they look for surface to air engagements, threats, things like that coming up at the aircraft. So we rotate because if you're in that window for 12 hours, it's fatiguing, and you have to be aware. You can't, that's not a place to sleep. That's a place to be, you are in charge of a security for the aircraft.
Right.
And all the lives that are on it. And so you would rotate from there, and then you would either go to be the load master because there's scanning available in the aft of the aircraft as well, the load master bubble. And then you would have the 105 where you're the brass puller position because it takes 2 people to operate a 105. You have the loader, and then you have the individual that's working the 40 millimeter gun and the 25 millimeter gun. And then you just rotate through.
Wow. You're not getting any rest, are you?
Yeah. You can sleep when you get off the mission.
There you go. Until they call you back on.
Yeah, but it's all good.
Oh. So you do your first deployments in Bagram, and then do you rotate home for a certain amount of time? Is that right?
Went home, and then, man, I can't remember. I think the next one was to Kuwait, and I don't know if that's the one where I went, yeah, I think the next one was Kuwait. I remember being at home station at Hurlburt at work. And when ISIS was really, the evil was rampant, right? And I'll never forget was when they burned that pilot alive. And I'll never forget. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, we're going to war. And we did. And the evil that's out there, I'm so grateful for the men that when things go bump in the night, they go bump back.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are bad things out there, and we have to stand up because when I watch that image is burned into my mind. It's absolutely tragic. It's so.
Most people here in the United States have never had to face evil.
Yeah.
They're comfortable letting those that can let them go do it. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If you can't do the job, if you can't be in the military, if you can't be in law enforcement, if you can't be a first responder, a fireman, and face those dangers, don't even try. But you need to be appreciative of the people that do, because they're risking their freaking lives out there every day, and they're loving what they're doing. Would you, if you had to do all over again, would you do the same thing again?
Oh, absolutely.
What's wrong with you, girl?
It goes back to Steve, it's not about me. It's about the person next to me.
Yes.
And I was taught that so young, and I just full on believe that. And especially with yes, our military and the things that we're talking about now, but like our law enforcement, the things that they do and go through on a daily basis to keep men, women, and children safe. How do you find the words for that?
It's, saying thank you doesn't sound like it's enough, but I was a cop for 38 years. When you come out of, I was uniformed for 12 years and then DEA for 26. But when you come out of a neighborhood with violent known drug traffickers in handcuffs in the back of your car, and the neighborhood comes out and applauds you as you drive down the street, that's one of the best feelings I ever had. I mean, it just felt you actually helped a community, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Protectors, the sheepdogs out there looking after the
sheepdogs. Amen.
This is good. So how long were you in Kuwait? Was that another 120 or?
That was a 90, I think. That was 90. Yeah. And so that was really a different mission set. Those were really long flights too, because we were in Kuwait, and then we had to fly in country and fly back. The threat level was a little bit more significant there. Afghanistan, there's not as much surface to air. Sure, there might be, but in Iraq, we definitely had to have our head on a swivel. Like, there was definitely AAA. There were nights where we were high enough, but I remember watching the airburst right below us, like them trying to shoot up the aircraft, and you're just like, what is going on? And my second trip to Iraq, we were stationed somewhere else and flying over Mosul and just seeing they train us at home. It's called barrage fire, and it's just I saw thousands of tracers just in the air over Missoula, and it was unreal to see. And everything's on fire, and you're just like, and then you come home, and it's so different. And it goes back to that mindset of like, that's why I'm always so grateful for the life I have.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if you can say this, but because we don't give up anything that's secretive, can you say what the altitude was of the AC-130 when you were typically flying?
So this one varies. It just depends. There's like a minimum altitude that we have to be effective at shooting. But it's going to depend on all the different things out there, terrain, threats, those kinds of things. So it could be anywhere from, I can't even remember the highest we've flown. And the AC-130 is heavy because we've got a lot of ammunition. So there's that to consider, and just making sure we're effective for firing, but probably anywhere between like 14,000, I would say maybe 20,000, somewhere in there.
If it's a fire mission, how close to the ground are you for that?
In that range, like I would say like an average of like 15,000 if I'm just throwing a number out there, but it's going to vary everywhere you go.
Wow. I mean, think about it. That's close to 3 miles. It's between 2 and 3 miles up, and you're providing accurate fire on the ground.
Steve, someone way smarter than me, figured out the math behind this to make that happen. And God bless him, because yeah, just like you're shooting a handgun and you can, you work on your sights, or a rifle, zeroing in your rifle. It's the same thing. We do this. We have the same thing, just bigger guns. And once we get it, then we start firing, and all the different things that come in with, again, that public math that's way above my pay grade. Yeah, someone figured that out.
Well, you see me, I was struggling to come up. Is it 15,000 feet? How many miles is that?
I couldn't even tell you.
Between 2 and 3. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Then you come back to, well, first of all, was any aircraft you were ever on struck by gunfire or missile fire?
No, God, thank goodness. One time we did fly in Afghanistan. We flew trying to get to an op, and there was a huge lightning storm, and we did get struck by lightning, and it put a hole in the plane. It was down for like a month.
How big a hole?
I don't know. It was on the wing. I would assume like something.
Wow.
But yeah, that was the closest ever.
That creates a pucker factor, doesn't it?
Yeah, we made it home and we didn't realize it. So again, all the things that happen.
Oh my gosh. Not only are you having to worry about the enemy, but you got to worry about the forces of nature as well.
Absolutely.
Holy cow. Oh, I had a good question for you, and I just forget. It'll come back to me here in a minute. Having an old man moment. When you came back from Kuwait, were you home for 90 to 120 days, or is it faster or slower?
They started putting the dwell time in because I think with flight hours, you can only fly so many hours within certain time periods. And so they started doing like the 1-to-1 dwells, where it's like off for 120, on for 120. And they tried to give guys a break, because when you're home, you're sitting alert too, which means you can't go on leave. You have to have a bag packed. You have to be ready in case anything else in the world happens. You're ready to go. So you're always kind of in that high state status. So they would try to give guys, hey, well, let's get you 6 months at home, like those kinds of things. But it just, at the time, the war was starting to kind of spin down in Afghanistan, but then Iraq was picking up. So it was just based on the needs of the country.
Right. And you're not only sitting alert, you're still going through training, you've PT'd. I mean, there's a lot of responsibilities that go on, right?
Flying multiple times a week, making sure all your quals are good, your deployment, like you have a whole folder to deploy to make sure everything's ready to go. Your marksman's good for shooting, your sidearm. And then, yeah, water survival is good to go, everything.
You get to go back out the ocean and jump out again?
Oh, they take you to the sound. That one was a little bit easier to get through. The sound side is just like a little channel. I was like, okay, I'll deal with this.
I was going to say earlier, we were talking about that training you went through, that when I was young, you go out in the ocean and you go out until the lifeguard told you you were out too far and come back in. And now if it's above my ankles, I'm looking around for sharks.
Yes, that's how I am. I don't know. There's something to it.
We love going to the beach, but not so much getting in the water anymore.
Yep.
During that time that you're home, or even when you're deployed overseas, do they have counselors or people that talk to you about your how you're feeling, your pressures, the anxiety, depression, any of that?
Yeah. So downrange, I don't think so. And I could be 100% wrong. It could just be something that I was oblivious to. When you're young and you're just in the zone, that's not something you think about. Because I was 20 on my first deployment, and so I was younger during all of this. And then at home, we had, I'm going to get the name wrong, we had a psychologist on site for a little bit at our unit. And then within the military, we have what's called MFLACs, Military Family Life Counselors. And so through that resource, they're not going to write anything down. And if you go to the one that's attached to the squadron, that's a little bit more of a formal channel. And that's where they write things down. And I think the mindset was, I don't want to lose my flying status, because there's a whole snowball effect with that. If you say that, then you start editing yourself, right? You're like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like you can't be truly honest because you're too worried about losing your job.
Right.
And which creates another snowball of problems. And so it's not something I used. I know when you get home, they make you go to medical and you felt like, did you fire your weapon and all that stuff? But it didn't feel the same for me as I'm sure it feels for men on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
In those two deployments we've talked about so far, what would you consider a mission that you're proudest of, or maybe the most dangerous mission you flew? Is there one that kind of sticks out in your memory?
So in Afghanistan, my first time I ever shot, 20 years old, it's right around Christmas. We get over this operation and we're watching these guys on the ground. We were supposed to hit a tanker, to refuel. And for some reason, the pilot, I can't remember exactly, but he's like, no, we're not going to do that. So we stayed over, we're watching these guys. They go up to kind of like the side of a mountain. They start taking fire. And I was in the battle management center where all the screens are, watching this happen. And I'll never forget when that individual, I watched it happen. I'm like, and then you hear it, the tone, the gunfire, everything through comms, and everyone, you can hear a pin drop. Okay, something's about to happen. And so that's when we put the guns on the line and we're just waiting. Finally, we get the calls in and we start delivering fires within 14 meters of friendlies to take out the enemy on this ridge, because they were getting hammered and they had lost an individual on their team. And then we did that. While that was happening, they were already calling a gunship to backfill us, because then we were going to run out of fuel. And we got these guys, they were able to get out. And that mission, I still know one of the guys from it. Phenomenal. He was shot, I believe, 6 times. And wow. They were getting fragged by us because it was so close. But they didn't care because it saved their life. And it's one of those things that you have to risk in order to help get them home and return the fallen with honor. And yes. So that's what we did. And so that one will always stick with me. And I was so young, and it changed how I looked at life, because I saw that you can lose it so quick. And I always try to remember that and carry that forward. And sometimes I forget, and I just got to stay on it, and not you carry it in an honor, okay, I need to live my life. These people gave everything. I need to make sure I'm doing the right thing, doing things to help my fellow man.
Excellent attitude.
Yeah. Mindset's key.
Yeah. It very easily could have been you instead of them.
Yeah.
Whew. Good stuff here. Listen, we've been going for a while now. Mary has agreed to join us tomorrow on the second episode for this week. So this is some emotional stuff. if you haven't been in battle, it's hard to understand some of this. And why would you go back if you have? But that's the dedication that goes along with being in the military, with being a first responder, because I don't know, maybe the good man upstairs gives us that ability to handle dangerous situations and gives us the choice to serve our fellow man. If you've heard me say this on here 1,000 times, there's no higher calling than risking your life for your brother or your sister. So just a true honor to have Mary on here today. Thank you so much for all the stories you've told us.
Thank you, Steve.
And we're just now getting started, y'all. We got a whole section. She's still got more deployments we're going to talk about, and then we're going to talk about her life after the military. Probably going to hit you up at some point, Mary, to introduce me to your dad, just because it's always an honor to meet American heroes.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So everybody, listen, thank you again for joining us here. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube now, if you're listening to the audio portion of this, do me a favor, go over to YouTube. In the search bar, type in Game of Crimes Podcast. When it pulls up, hit that subscriber. Look at some of our guests here. You get to see them as well as hear them. And don't come over and look at me. Look at the guest. And hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts. Send me your comments. Until tomorrow, everybody stay safe out there. God bless.